In part one of this topic, we started creating a mail merge letter based on underlying Excel information. The letter's designed for a couple of purposes. First, to thank our employees for their service and kind of give them a reminder of the department and their title and their hire date. We know what it is, but that just makes our letter seem a little more personalized. Secondly, the letter is designed to be sent so that we can verify a home address and phone number. What we notice, though, as we begin to scroll down and look through the content of our letter, is that we have a little bit of text that may or may not be appropriate. I'm looking specifically at the paragraph that starts, "We do not currently have a home phone number on file for you." Well, obviously, that makes perfect sense for people for whom we do not have a phone number. But what about those for whom we do? Well, that's when we might want to change the content of the letter. And here's what normally happens. We put in a second statement that says, "If we do have your phone number, never mind." Those are the kind of letters that we're trying to avoid. They're not personalized. They try to be an all-in-one, but they're only appropriate for, let's just say, half of the people, and they're completely inappropriate for the other half. What happens is, first of all, we confuse people, because then they aren't sure if we have their information or not and what we want to do. Letters are often designed for what we call a call to action. We want them to do something if we do not have their phone number. We also want them to do something if we do have their phone number, and that is to verify it. The second thing that makes this kind of a problem or puts us into a quandary is we want this to be personalized, not to look like it came out of a database, not to look like a form letter. And by putting a 2 in 1, it actually looks very much like it came out of a database and is a form letter. So what are our options? Well, you're probably thinking we need to make 2 completely different letters and send them to the appropriate people. That is where you would be mistaken. We get to talk about one of my favorite features with Mail Merge. It's called making an if-then-else statement. And it's very much like doing an if function in Excel, where we can say if one thing is true, do something, but if it's not true, do something else. In this case, we're going to make an if-then-else rule to work with this piece of text in our letter. So let's take a look at how that would be done. The first thing we're going to do is actually get rid of the text that we have after we make a copy of it, so we don't have to retype it. Let's go ahead and select it and make a copy. I'm going to press Control-C on the keyboard, then just press the Delete key to get rid of it, and make sure that our cursor is in its own blank paragraph before we get started. Not that that's a big deal, it's just going to make sure that everything is spaced correctly once we get our new field with the if-then-else statement applied. Since we're working with Mail Merge, we want to make sure that our Mailings tab is still activated, and then we're going to move to the Write and Insert Fields group and click or tap the option called Rules. Now, when this displays, you'll see that there are a whole variety of different kinds of rules that we can create. And this is where you get into the elegance and functionality of really good mail merge letters. We, of course, are interested in if-then-else, so we'll give that a click or a tap, and it opens up the dialog into which we can create our rule. First of all, which field do we want to test? Well, we want to test the home phone field, which happens to be the last one in our list. Second, what is our criteria? And of course, we see a bunch of normal comparison operators: is equal, is not equal to, greater than, less than. We are looking for a criteria that says if the home phone is blank. Now we need to say if that's true. If the home phone field is blank, what text do we want to display? And this is where we're going to press Control-V as in Victor to paste the text that we copied from the original letter. We'll take a look at that, make sure that everything is spelled and typed correctly. And then the last part of our rule is to say, what if it's not? What if we do have a home phone number? We don't know what it is. It's not greater than or less than something. In this case, it's simply if there is anything in the home phone number field. Well, that's when we're going to ask our employees to simply verify that it's correct. That's it. See how easy that was? We now have 2 completely different pieces of verbiage that will be placed into the letter depending on the value of the home phone field. With that, we can simply click or tap OK, and we'll see that our text has been placed into the letter. Now, you may be worried that it's showing only one but not the other. Let's go ahead and move on to see why that's occurring. Let's move down to the bottom right side of the screen and give the next link a click to move to step 5. This is where we actually have an opportunity to preview our letters. Once again, we can see that our text for not having a home phone number is in place. If we scroll back to the top of the document, we can start to proofread our document, which I always recommend. Despite our perfect intentions, we often need to go through a couple of the actual letters to make sure that everything fits and works exactly as we expect. Now, the first thing that I notice is that this address spacing is just a little bit off. By default, the address block puts in formatting for a regular paragraph, which means there are extra spaces. This has nothing to do with the mail merge itself, really, but we want to do some cleanup. So we'll click on the Home tab, display our line spacing options, and remove the spacing after the paragraph. I think that looks a little bit better. Now we'll put in an extra line after our date. Now, all of this work is actually for a good reason, because we've referred people to the phone number field, but there is no phone number field. We never added that at the top of the letter. So let's do that little bit of cleanup by clicking after the address block, going back to the Mailings tab, choosing Insert Merge Field, and selecting Home Phone. Now we can more clearly see why our text at the bottom requested a phone number, because Ian Wilson doesn't have a phone number on file, so that's appropriate. Let's now look at the second record by using the record selectors in the Mail Merge Wizard task pane. We'll move over to the right and simply scroll to recipient number 2. Now we can clearly see that our second record, the one for Susan Jensen, does have a phone number. What you may notice, though, is that the phone number is not formatted. I actually did this for a good reason, to show you that text displays in the mail merge exactly like it's formatted in the underlying worksheet. So if we want phone numbers to be correctly formatted in the mail merge, we need to make sure that they're correctly formatted in the source data. We're not going to fix that now, but what we can see is that we do have a phone number for Susan Jensen. As we begin to scroll down, we can see that it also designates that she works in our corporate department as an accountant, and she was hired September 17th of 2012. And as we go down even further, we can see that our if-then-else rule is working perfectly. It asks her to please verify her home phone number at the top of the letter. I know, maybe I get too excited about this kind of stuff, but trust me, it makes a difference. This letter is going to be much better than an out-of-the-box, cookie-cutter letter that simply has a, if we have your phone number, do one thing, if we don't, do something else type of content. It's going to make people feel more special, and the letter is more personalized, and it tells them exactly what is required based on the data related to their employee record. Let's go ahead and finish this up. We'll move to the bottom right of the screen one last time and click Next to complete the merge. We have options to either print the letter or to edit individual letters. We're going to select the Edit Individual Letters option to show you that this actually generates the final Word document. It does give us a final opportunity to merge all of our records, the current record, or a range of records. We'll do all of them and click OK, and the final merged letter is created. If you look at the status bar, you'll see we have a total of 6 pages because we have a one-page letter for each of our 6 employees in the Excel worksheet. In this document, each one of the letters could further be customized and then either saved or printed or whatever's required for your purposes. What we can see, though, is that we have really created a personalized, customized letter from an underlying Excel spreadsheet. And of course, there are all kinds of bells and whistles and tricks that we can do with mail merge, including the ability to exclude certain records like we saw. We can sort and filter, and we can do much more. You've seen a basic implementation with a little conditional text thrown in to create a standard letter. Mail merge provides the ability to customize correspondence while maximizing efficiency. We never have to write this letter again. We simply merge together underlying data with this letter, and we can regenerate the letter anytime we want or reuse either one of those pieces, the spreadsheet or the merge document. Working in this way creates consistency over time and ensures accuracy, since we're not retyping anything. It's exactly the same as the source data, and our merge letter is exactly the same every time we reuse it. The big picture here is that when carefully created, mail merges do not appear to be generic or database derived. You may often think of mail merge when it comes to letters, but as long as you have an email address field, we could send this out as an email as well and save a tree and lots of postage. We can also create envelopes and labels, but don't think about MailMerge as just correspondence. It can generate labels for inventory shelves, catalogs of your products and services, and many other implementations. Hopefully, we've got your creative wheels turning, so you can start considering ways that you might be able to utilize MailMerge with Excel data to manage and build your business.